Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this beautiful world. My name's Jade, and this is the Odd Couple Rant. And today my special guest off the bench is Pete Johns. And we're going to talk about keeping up appearances, sponsored by DistroKid. But we're going to kick off with one of Pete's fantastic songs called Anxiety.
Time for hope is gone and there is nothing left to comfort in the end. And you say, even when you're feeling good, that something else will come around the bend. And I'm always thinking, always trying to hold on. And I something else will go wrong. It's wrong. You say, even when there's good things happening, the party will be at an end real soon. And you say, you might be happy now, but I've a million ways to open up the wound. And I'm always hurting, always trying to hang on. And it's hard to see this feeling might be wrong. And it might be in my head, but my heart is racing and I'm scared. And I take a breath and try to see you're not real, you are just anxiety. You never get away from me, you might as well just settle in and deal. And you say you're stuck with me forever, this will always be the way you're gonna feel. But I don't believe you, I can still carry on. And I realize now this feeling is just wrong. And I know it's in my head, and my heart is stronger, I'm not scared. And I take a breath and know it's me. I'm not you, you are just anxiety. Walk right out the door. 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 Walk right out the
Hello, hello. My name's Jade. Welcome to the show. That was Pete Johns and Anxiety. People should check his Spotify list because I had that song on repeat for the last 2 days while I was house hunting. Everywhere I went, hoping it would fix my anxiety. What a fantastic video. What was your first song that you found of Pete Johns? That was one of my early favourites I found and went, you know what? I like this guy. And I'm going to hang out for a little bit. And here we are. So this is the Odd Couple Rant. Normally we have Mike Enjo here, but now when I set up this show, I knew that sometimes he wouldn't be able to make it. So I always had up my sleeve, which I'm not wearing right now, the ability to bring in one of my other special guests off the bench. So today it's going to be Pete Johns who's going to come in and help us out and talk about this topic. But first I need to let you know, my friends, that this show is sponsored today by our good friends at DistroKid. And DistroKid is your gateway to release your best, most rockin' music. You can do so by the small amount annually of $22.99 a year to get one artist with unlimited songs, unlimited lyrics, unlimited. It's like that big cup that you take back for a refill at McDonald's in America, not in Australia. That doesn't happen. But you can continuously release as many songs as you like across all of the major streaming services, even ones you've never heard of. And that's cool as well. Spotify checkmark, royalty split, so split your money with other artists that you may collab with, because a lot of people do that here in the YouTube indie music community. Heaps of tools to spread the knowledge that your music's out, an app that you can release songs with. It's a fantastic offer. I've been with DistroKid since way before they sponsored this show. So, that wasn't a deal where I just went, oh, they're going to pay me to do this. I'm going to... No. I was with them a long time ago. I left another big company for these guys, and I haven't turned back. If you use my code that Thomas has put in the chat there, in the link in the description, and it's sitting up there at the top of the screen all the way through the show, you can get 7% off your first year. And as I always say, you know the deal, my friends. I love you, DistroKid. That was a bit sinister today. I love you, DistroKid. Thank you for sponsoring the show. Anyway, stop rambling, Jade. We'll hear a little bit more about DistroKid as we go on. Thanks, everyone, for being here. We'll give you a shout-out soon. Let's get him on. The guy you're all here to see, not me yammering. It's Pete Johns, ladies and gentlemen. Where are my applause? How do you do, Pete?
Hello. How you going, Jade?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm double caffeinated, which means my appearance is a little better because my eyes are open. They weren't about half an hour ago, as you saw in the pre-show. But now we're good to go. We're ready to rock and roll. I'm ready to chat with you and all the fine people here. Look, I've got my energy back. Isn't that good?
Good, because I'm just going to rely on you to talk all day, as you should know.
For an introvert, I do talk a lot, I've been told. It's a bit weird. When I'm comfortable, so I must be comfortable with you in this community.
So today's show is about keeping up appearances, Pete. And
Yes.
It's a very broad topic that I'm covering today because appearances have there's many things we can talk about there. Now, you mentioned about sleep. Pete Johns, are you getting enough sleep at the moment?
At the moment, I'm getting enough sleep, but not as much sleep as would be optimal for me. It's been hard getting into the routine here. I know it sounds very weird, but daylight saving time just hit us here in Australia, and that 1 hour that they just pushed time forward just messed me up big time. I was in a really good sleep pattern. I'd be in bed by 10:30 every night. I get up at 6. I'm getting my 7.5, and I'm loving life. And then this whole thing happened, and now I find myself going to bed like an hour or two later, and then dragging myself out of bed at like 7 o'clock with the eyelids half closed, and then double coffeeing it so that I can get through. So yeah, as I get older, my ability to adjust to change is something that I struggle with, but better than it could be. Better than it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago when sleep was like optional. Sleep is not optional. The older you get, the more you realize that you can function. You think you're functioning on no or low sleep until you talk to other people and they're like, you're not coping. You're just getting by. So yeah, sleep is really important. And the older I get, the wiser I am around the benefits to not only your physical being, but your mental well-being of sleep.
True. And I don't still get enough sleep. I got to bed at 3 a.m. this morning and then woke up at 7 to do this. So, yeah.
Afternoon naps for the win. Yeah.
Look, I'm a massive fan of the siesta. I have one every day, definitely between 1 to 1.5 hours or even 2 hours sometimes if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
It doesn't help, though, because I thought it would help so then I could go back to work later at night, but I just don't want to get up once I do it now.
It is hard. You have to find your body's circadian rhythms without getting too. I know I like to use the word woo-woo when we talk about this, but without getting too woo-woo early on, you got to find the rhythm of your body. And scientifically, if you don't want to be woo-woo about it, scientifically, 20 to 30 minutes or 2 hours, because that's going to get you into your proper sleep cycle. Because you go through stages, you go through light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. So if you want a full cycle of sleep, 2 hours. If you want to try and give yourself a little energy boost, like when your phone's gone red and you just need to get enough to get on the bus and get home. You plug into the charger, that's your 20 to 30-minute naps. But in between could actually do the damage, could actually make it worse. Because if you're in the 1 hour zone, you're in the middle of deep sleep and you wake up. Ever done that? You've napped and then you wake up and you feel like you've been hit by a truck. You feel worse than you did when you went for your nap. That's usually because you've caught yourself in the middle of a cycle. And like music, everyone's bodies and cycles are different with sleep. So you have to find your pattern and rhythm. But there you go. Who thought you'd get sleep tips coming in here for a music stream show today?
We've done rants on pillows. We did a rant on pillows, and oh my God, because I just think that's my role here in the music community is to talk about the tough subjects about sleep, and because not a lot of people talk about it. It's great to hear about the latest compressor. Yeah. But if you're not well enough, you're not getting enough sleep to use that fucking compressor, then it ain't going to help your music, honestly. Like, you can have all the compressors in the world, but if you are just not getting enough sleep, you're not eating well, you're stuffed. And, I feel it because at the moment, like we discussed briefly, I'm looking for a new house at the moment. And trust me.
Yes. Oh, that's draining.
Oh, man. When I come back here so this ties into today about keeping up appearances, to go out and look at 5 houses a day and go through the whole BS of submitting applications and all that, and then come back to YouTube and go, all right, let's go. We're all pumped up about this new limiter that I've got to talk about. It's been really hard. So keeping up appearances for me has been really hard. But we're going to go back in time. Going to go back because appearances.
The Wayne's World. Scooby-Doo ending. That'd be great.
We live in a world where people judge you on appearances, and both you and me have faced this as, I guess, as musicians, I guess as kids as well, in the workforce, here on YouTube, especially here on YouTube now, every day it's our face here. And, me being trans and you having an eye missing, I'm sure you have had... I'm just going to start off by saying it really baffles me in this world that there are people out there who go, that's different to me.
You look different. Yeah.
Kill it. You want us all to live in a world where we all are you? No, thank you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's baffling, and I want to put a warning out there up front is that any self-deprecation that I may use for humor's sake in the next 2 hours, I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm happy, I'm good with myself, and I'm not struggling. But I'll delve into times where perhaps that wasn't the case, and I might even have a little bit of a go at myself because we're Australian. It's kind of how we cope.
We sure do.
We'll talk bullying later, but the old adage of, present the thing before people have a chance to notice the thing is kind of a way to go. And I know you've talked about this before when you came out as trans, as you're walking down the street going, look at me, I'm trans. And I'm just like, I came onto YouTube, I'm like, look at me, I got one eye, because people are going to notice it. And then if you own it, you get on the front foot. And you can do that in 2 ways. You can do that in a lighthearted, funny way. And occasionally you can cross the line and do that in a more sort of aggressive, like, oh, I know what you're thinking way. And I think that's one of the things I've learned over time is that, yes, some people sometimes are going to be assholes, but don't judge everyone. Don't paint everyone in the world with that same brush, because the absolute vast majority of people either don't give a shit, don't care at all,
Yeah.
or are actually just interested and are kind and will just go, hey, that's a different thing. Guess what? I've got a different thing too. The amount of times that I've had a conversation with someone and said, oh, yeah, I grew up with this. And they're like, oh, I got no foot. And you're just like, holy crap, I had no idea, because your thing is invisible and mine is visible. So everyone's got something. No one is 100%, cookie cutter, perfect, symmetrical, just it doesn't exist. So, yeah, the only people that hide behind that, and we'll talk about appearances, I guess, as we go through, the people that are hiding behind that are the ones that think they have to be, either through the way that they've been brought up or the fact that they're just naturally a psychopath / sociopath. So, yeah, it's a interesting thing to traverse, isn't it?
It is. And so we've been out together, right?
Mm.
And I know, I think when I first came out as trans and I would go out in public, the amount of looks and sniggering and shit people would just walk up to you and say to your face is just like, really? Like, I would never think to do that. Like I mean, I walk around on this planet and have seen all types of people. I've seen. Yeah. I saw a person that you see people even with no arms and just a little hand on their shoulder and stuff like that. But the first thing I didn't think of doing was, you know what? Let's go over to that person and get in their face and go, "You've got a little hand." Like, why would you do that? But it's a thing. People do it, and I'm sure you have faced it. And I remember becoming a moderator on your channel and sitting there and seeing sometimes people would come in and be like, "Yeah, that's all great, but what's wrong with your eye?" And it's like, "What are you here for, buddy?"
That was always strange, and
Yeah.
it's a lot rarer than you might think.
Yes.
I do get comments, and I know that you would get comments, but it is like there's two things that have happened, is that people have become, I think, more accepting and more tolerant of different people and different ways that people look and different ways that people are, which is good. Generally, I'm talking general world. I know there's always there's edge cases and there's extremes on every side of things, but just generally, there's, I think, more acceptance across the board. And when it does happen, I don't know. I do say, I say to my family and friends, I'm like, if I ever get a little too thick-skinned, like maybe there's sometimes where something should upset me, can you just tap me on the shoulder and say, actually, that person was really harsh to you? Because everything just rolls off now. Like, serious. I know that sounds like I'm just sort of presenting as like tough alpha male. I'm far from a tough alpha male, I can assure you.
Oh, yeah.
But I have just had to learn over time. And it's even though it was at the start, it was a bit of a baptism of fire and having to get used to the sort of horrible comments people make on the internet. But I talk to other people. I talk to regular people. I talk to Samantha Edge, who's, I was thinking about that because when you came to Adelaide, funny scene of Sam up there busking, you and me walking together, and you're like, I got new dreads, Pete, want to touch him? I'm like, cool. Yeah. And there must have been people just walking down the street like old granny just going, oh, the freak festival's in town today. What's going on here?
We should be giving them money.
I've forgotten my point of that, but I think that I'm fine with it now. But I do think that people that I'll say to you in the pre-show, I don't know why young people want to get into this space. I don't know why young people would want to be famous or be an influencer or have to put their face out there all the time, because it's exhausting at the start, and it can be. If you let it get to you, it can be totally degrading. And everyone knows, like, bring it back to music. Everyone knows that if you put out a song and you get 10 comments, 9 of them say, most rockin' song I've ever heard, this is great, this is fire, and you get one person that says, vocals mixed too loud, need more compression on guitar, stereo mix is phasing out the wazoo. What do? You walk away feeling like shit because that one person has given you some, and it doesn't even have to be that bad feedback. Like sometimes it's just, you suck and you're ugly too. And it's like, oh, I don't know how that impacts the music, but fair. So yeah, it is weird that we as humans, we grasp on, we grab onto the negative, and we can let that really overtake anything positive that happens as well. So yeah, it's not easy to do, and I haven't perfected it, and I still sometimes do get affected by things. Again, no one's perfect. You're not going to always have great days. Do I have written comments and replies that I've regretted in the past? Absolutely. Do I do it much anymore? Not really. My favorite comment is when someone goes to all this effort to put this diatribe about how you look and how you act and how you be and how you sound and all the rest of it. there's one simple sentence, and I'll share this with you because I think it's fun to use. You seem nice. We should totally hang out. Because where do they go from there? Like, they've just spent all this time, they've spent their own time, their own effort going to your channel and leaving a comment. And instead of getting the reaction they want, which is you being sad, you being upset, you being like grumpy, you're just like, oh, you seem nice. We should totally hang out. And I've never had a response back to that. I don't know what people are thinking of me. They're just like, they go grumbling off and back into the gutter and under a bridge, troll. But yeah, it is baffling that they spend the amount of time and effort to do that. And I know, look, we'll talk, I'm sure, later, but it's more about them than it's about you.
My new one is, do you need a hug? That's all. Someone wrote a comment the other day and they said, I think on the show I was talking about how I'm doing more pre-recorded demos now, and on the live streams I'm actually trying to make music because I feel jealous of seeing everybody make music and I don't get to anymore because this has taken over. And they wrote in the comments, well, if that's the case, I'm leaving your channel, unsubscribed. And I was like, the only thing I could think of to write was, do you need a hug?
Yeah.
And they actually wrote back and said, no, thank you, goodbye. At least they were polite. It's all good. Now, I want to point out something. So, because we're talking about physical appearances, I will never forget this day. So, for those of you who don't know, and we'll say hello to you all just momentarily.
Hello, fine folks.
We'll call you out in name-wise shortly.
We'll name and shame.
We'll put your names up. We'll have you all arrested. Look, because we've broken bread, you kindly invited me into your home, into your family. That's a huge thing. I always say that, and I came to Adelaide. I'll never forget the day when I came on your show and I was in your studio and you said to me, now you sit over there, and I sat down over here and you're on this side and you said to me, now I have to have you over there because I can see you over there. And you know what? I'll never forget this. The first time I actually was looking at you while you were streaming going, oh my fucking God. Of course I know, like, you've got a glass eye, right? But for the first time in my brain, I went, shit, Pete's doing all this with one eye and seeing all the lyrics in front of him, everything. And no wonder I'm having, and then my respect level just went fucking out the roof. And I'm sitting here going, oh yeah, it's all hard to do this shit. And I'll just never forget that because it was never a thing that I thought about, right? But then seeing it in real life, I was just, holy fuck, what a legend. You really are a legend, Pete. And then I just was coming up with ways to come from the other side to scare you. But no, that's not true at all.
Yeah, look, and there's two things that I kind of have to adjust to in life, like for the, I don't know, it's interesting because it's different and it's a thing. So I have to make sure that I don't run into people because I do have a much larger blind spot, so I can only see from about there, whereas most people can see from there. So if I'm out in the world, I need to be very conscious of things that are going on behind the right side of my head. And 3D movies are kind of shit. And that's about it. Outside of that, I don't really have a whole lot. Like, people would say, technically you're disabled. And I'm like, well, yes, I am. I'm differently abled. But it just means that when the shark comes out of the water and comes to the screen and everyone else is screaming, and I'm just like, just shark.
Did you need a song called 3D Movies Are Kind of Shit?
Everyone's all about it. I'm so glad the big 3D TV craze happened a few years back, and I'm just like, oh, can we not go down this track because I don't want to pay an extra $2,000 for a feature I'm never going to use.
Oh, fuck, I love you, Pete. You are just bloody awesome. It's a strange. I get the shit on here too, and it's like, what? Are you a man or a woman? And I just think, does it matter? Like, I'm so done. I way before you were even a mere thought on my radar, buddy, I've had to walk through streets and had my head literally punched in because of being trans, So, like, that comment, I know, like, you've typed it and hit enter and gone, fucking victory, flawless victory. And it's like, dude, there have been those who've come before you with far more potent insults than that. So it's going to take a lot more. But yeah, there's still, like, it matters. Like, that is the thing.
Yeah,
It-
and that's it's something that I've learned over time because without outing you further, Jade, you are my first transgender friend,
yes.
and there's some people out there like this is why I still have a little bit of empathy for folks that are still coming to terms with it and are like actually trying, but might occasionally misgender people or might occasionally ask awkward questions like, "Are you male or female?" Because we grew up in a world where it mattered, where there was differences between men and women, and where everyone was focused on girl do this, boy do this, nothing no crossover whatsoever. And some people that haven't had a lot or any exposure to that, it's challenging. It's tough for those people. And there's two types of people. There's the people that genuinely are interested and will ask questions and will try their best and occasionally put their foot in their mouth. I've done that. I did that early on. And then there's other people that just go, different bad, change bad, everything bad. And again, I think that the vast majority of people fall into the camp of either just ignorance, which
Yeah.
can be fixed with education, or they just are genuinely interested and want to learn and want to know. And that's all good. And it's only the very small percentage of people that are on the other side of the fence, and that we still got some work to do with them. But I think, yeah, the more education. Like I know that my parents have learned a lot about gender from what I talk about when I go and meet with them, because they don't even have any gay friends. Like they're in their 70s, so all of their friends are heterosexual 70 plus white people, which doesn't add a lot of diversity to their life. And it means that when they are faced with diversity, it is a hard thing. And I think that's the case for a lot of people. It's not that they don't want to understand or accept, it's that they've grown up in a world where that isn't a thing, and it's taking them some time to get there. And then other people are just, again, horrible psychopathic bigots. But yeah, I think that the vast majority of people do want to try and do the right thing. And I think what I've tried to do is just say, hey, that's great. And that's why if someone comes up to me and says, hey, there's something a bit different about you. Do you mind if I ask you about it? And I'll be like, of course you can. Whereas if someone's just like, ooh, you look funny. What's wrong with your eye? I'm like, and I usually give them the time
Yeah.
of day and just like say, yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. Can I ask why you're interested? And they're like, no, nothing.
Yeah.
And they get on the back foot. And they're like, oh, I was just asking. Yeah. So it's fun. It's a fun world to navigate, isn't it?
It
2024.
is.
It's got its squibbles, but there's lots of good things. There's lots of good people, as we have here in the chat here today.
Yes, let's say hello to some of those. Thank you, Pete, for steering.
Segway handle.
This is why I have guests like this on here. Ali is in the house. The crazy wabbit is here. We've got Andy Spine. We've got Thomas Christ, the mod with the mostest. We've got Barry Glenn. Thomas Christ says, can't imagine the rationale of getting angry about someone else living their life as long as they choose not to hurt anybody. Yes, exactly. It's just as Tom said, I literally don't give a shit. People being what they want to be. Just don't be a serial killer. Yes, don't be Dexter Morgan. Mr. Smith, Robbie Stingle's throwing beavers around. We got Dynamite Throw. Kim Hart and Hudson's chucking blankets. Everybody's chucking some form of thing around in the chat. Blankets, beavers. It's such a weird world, isn't it? Mars Capone, Semtex Cow, Moo to you. Who else? The Wild Rose CC. I'm trying to scroll. Michael Thompson, g'day. Thanks for the post I saw you put up on Facebook, my friend, saying that me and Peter are your favourite people. That was very kind. What else have I got up here? I'm trying to catch. Ed Zielinski's in the house. If you want to type something down below so I don't have to scroll up, makes life easy. Many vibes. Hello, many vibes. Tom S, of course, who already we've put a comment up. I can't go up any higher, so I can't see anymore.
Yep.
I think we've got most. Joe Glenn's here as well. Mateusz Brakelski is in the house as well. Thank you all for hanging out here. So the only photo I like dicking up photos of people, right, when they're young. And because Stu Cash, what's going on? How's it going, mate? Good to see you. Because you are somebody who I can type into ChatGPT and it can tell me about you, I can normally find photos of people. You know, you can do Google searches and dig back, and I couldn't find any photos of you when you were younger except for one.
Yes. Yes.
I was going to let me do it. There you go.
There you go. Yeah,
there you go. Look at that. Pete Johns in
the studio.
Yep. In the band Scarpa.
Yep.
Curly hair Pete.
Yeah, so believe it or not, my hair is actually quite naturally wavy and curly when it grows out, and I had long hair from I'd have to say from the age of 15, I started growing it, and then until about 21, 22, and then just cut it off. It was too hard. At that point, I had to get jobs and stuff. And again, speaking of people being prejudiced, it's so funny now that like the things that are accepted versus when I was out working in call centers
yes.
and long hair. It's like, oh, could you put that hair in a ponytail at least if you're coming to work? And it's like, okay. And I'm looking at things now, like I walk into workplaces now, and it's like lady completely tatted up with like neck tats and like 14 piercings, and then she's just like, "Hello, welcome to Dunkin' Donuts." And I was like, Jesus, okay. And they told me I needed to tie my hair up, and I should probably get a haircut, you hippie. So yes, very, very, very different between the 90s and early noughties to what goes on now. But yeah, that was what you did. You wore flannelette shirts, you wore band t-shirts, and you had long hair. And I was a little behind the trend though, because again, that was late 90s. So I kind of looked like Eddie Vedder when Eddie Vedder didn't look like Eddie Vedder anymore. He'd already cut his hair.
I see that.
Oh, what did it look like? Yeah. So I was going for the Eddie Vedder look. So yeah, it was all jeans and band t-shirts and flannelette shirts. And it's not that much different now, except I don't have any hair.
Yeah. So I'm going to start calling you Curly Whirly from now on.
Oh, if you could.
One of my favourite chocolates. And I love Curly Whirlies.
And also the shape of a pig's penis, just so you know.
What?
Isn't it pigs that have the screw penises that get stuck in? Someone correct me in the chat, but I thought.
How do you hang on?
Pigs like walking around together because.
How do you know this, Pete?
We've all been to farms. You don't spend much time. You were just at the show. Surely you saw some pig love.
Pig love.
I was going to say another word, but we're not that far into the show yet.
This is why we do this, because I
did warn people. I said on my channel in my posts and in my promos for this, I'm like, come over here if you think I'm all sweet and innocent and conservative and sit on the fence and moderate. Yeah, when I'm on Jade's show, she brings out a different side of me sometimes.
Me?
Yeah, I blame you.
Dude, I bring you on, you're starting to talk about pigs' dicks. Look at Ali. Wait, what? There was also, yes, pigs do have corkscrew penises. They do. If you haven't seen one, I know. I'm not telling you how I know, because hang on, maybe I should, because if I don't, you're going to think something up.
And before you Google it, just go to incognito mode, because you don't need that in your search history. Just quietly.
Oh, good Lord! All right. So we've all learned something new today, haven't we? But there is Pete. So if you haven't heard this too, this is changing subject. Scarpa. This is Pete's original band. I'm going to play something off it. Of course. Ooh. What do you suggest I play? Pick your favourite song. Oh, geez. Now that's put me on the spot. Play Nice Guy, because I think it's got the most Pete John style hook. It shows early stages of my songwriting. And thank you to Mr. Smith, too, gifted a membership as well. Let's hit Nice Guy. All right. Nice emojis, Tom.
There's a new boss in town.
God. Oh, yeah. We want Lotto Cat. Where's Lotto Cat? That was the best sound creator.
All the times I did it, I get the ad now. I'm going to mute the ad. 20 seconds. 20 seconds for an ad. That's unbelievable. No wonder I don't use this platform anymore. No. So we've got 9, 8, 7 seconds. We're almost good. We're almost good to go, folks. For future reference, if you just click in the top bar and refresh it, it kills the ad for SoundCloud. There you go. It's Pete Johns, Scalper, radio voice. Oh, yeah. Oh. Yes, indeed. Let it ring out. I'll come back over here. Scarpa. Now, the thing is, so this show encouraged me to go back and re-record my demo because normally on this little rant thing, I do like to go back, and whoever's on, we go back and talk about something from the past. Have you reconsidered this? I found one of your videos on YouTube where it was talking about not going back and re-recording your own songs. And I was like, oh, damn, I'm doing that at the moment. What a loser I am.
Yeah, so there's one song on there called Sober, which I didn't play it here. I probably should have. It's a much quicker song. But that I have attempted to re-record again. And again, it was earlier on in my movement back into recording. So I was using GarageBand and the tones weren't sounding right and the drums were kind of crappy. So it didn't really work out. But yeah, I do think that there's scope for, because some of these songs have decent hooks. Like they're reasonably catchy. They're just obviously fairly poorly played and fairly poorly recorded, because the studio that you saw us in the photo there was from it was a dude's house in a suburb of Adelaide called Prospect. He literally had a rental house where he'd put holes through the walls to run like snakes for cables from one room to another room, and he was using one of the very first hard drive based recorders ever. It was an 8-channel hard drive recorder. So, you know, drums were recorded onto 4 tracks, and then you basically had a bass, a vocal, a guitar, and then like 1 track left for overdubbing. Otherwise, you had to sort of bounce down. And in that particular song you heard there, there was a little bit where the drums could have just like, it does this really weird thing. And if you're listening for it, you'll notice it if you hear that song. And that was because the file got corrupted. And the dude had to do this weird like chop. And we're not talking about a screen here. These were like actual hard drive recorders, like a mixing desk. And he was actually freaking out because he thought his hard drive had crashed. And we were freaking out because we thought he'd lost like 5 hours of our recording. But yeah, it turned out that it was just this one little spot. And he just put that little cover there and all was good.
I love stories about recording.
Getting choked up about it.
You're all right. Group hug in the chat for Pete to pat him on the back. So before we get off appearances, I wanted to go back to me too, and not that this is about me or anything, but it is.
It's your show. It's your channel. Of course, it's about you.
So you had said to me many times, Pete, that I should do this. I should do this, you know, because I would spend a lot of time as your moderator for a long time, putting links in for apps and all that, and I would be in, you know, the Facebook groups helping people and stuff. And you said you should do a YouTube channel. My hardest thing was to get this off the ground was A, gear, because I owned nothing, and B was this. And if you realize, if you go back to when I first started on YouTube, I didn't show my face for the first year. I would hide behind the camera. You'd never see my face on here, and there's good reason for that, because for those of you who don't know the story, so I am trans, and I transitioned back in 2003, and used to look like this only back in 2016. There you go. A very different person. And looking at these photos breaks my fucking heart still every day, because unfortunately I got diagnosed with an incredibly shit blood disorder, and it put me in hospital for a long time, and they removed my spleen, and I'm still living with it. I'll be living with it forever. If you don't know, I bleed all over the place every day. I lose gallons of blood every single day. It's just something that can't be fixed. And in the process, me being like this and on hormones, they put me on steroids. So this is only like 10 years ago. They put me on steroids, and it totally reversed all the work I'd done to transition. So like I still got tits and everything. It's just, it changed my whole face. And, you know, for a trans person, passing is really important, right? So to lose all of that fucking destroyed me. So it took me a long time to be able to get back on here. And even like my hair now these days, you know, my hair used to be quite good, and now I'm such a destructive person. I intentionally have dreadlocks to be anti-pretty, because I feel like I can't get back there now because of all the damage, the drugs they put me on. So I'm not saying all this for people to feel sorry or anything, but appearances did stop me from like living my best life, you know, because I was living my best life looking because look, at the end of the day, if you look pretty, guess what? Fucking doors open. It just is what it is, and more doors opened when I look like this. But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah,
So-
and I think I completely get it and understand it, and I think that to put a silver lining on the flip side of that is that, yeah, the opportunities are there, and for you looking like that, there were probably opportunities for you, and there was like in the media in particular, because the media is absolutely fickle, or at least old media used to be. And I've often said that if I didn't get to self-select to do the things that I do, I do not have a face for commercial TV. And I know I said at the start, I'm going to be self-deprecating. It's not in a bad way or a negative way. I'm fine. I'm good with myself. You don't have to worry. But I know that the reality of it is that this is not what people want to see. Maybe ABC, SBS, if at a stretch. So that's an Australian joke for us there.
Channel 31.
I would be what are they accusing Kamala of? Not to get all political, but being a diversity hire. I would have been a diversity hire. They would have been like, let's get the one-eyed bloke on there. Then we can tick the diversity box. So I would have been a diversity hire, but I'm not going to be like the VJ that was going to be running the music show. But I get to be a VJ running a music show, and I get to do it here. Now, I think also things have changed a bit, as I said before. I don't think there is a lot more diversity, and there is a lot more acceptance, tolerance, whatever you want to call it, of people being different and looking different to what the cookie cutter is. But that all being said, there's still massive pressure on people to look a certain way, to be a certain way. It's why we have so much plastic surgery that goes on these days. It's why more women in particular, but also men, are now using Botox to get rid of wrinkles and to pump poison into their foreheads just so that they can look expressionless and shiny on TV.
I'm never going to knock it. I used to do it.
And look,
it was a lot of fun.
More power to you if you want to do it for you. It's just really sad when there's people that's like, I don't want to do this, but if I don't, my face is my job and I will get the sack. Like, I will not get any more work if I don't look exactly the way I do now. I can't, as a 50-year-old woman, I have to look 30. Otherwise, I get no jobs. So that's a bit shit. But yeah, doing stuff for you. And I think it's everything, isn't it? Like appearances, we do things for other people sometimes. And that's not always a negative thing or a bad thing, because you want to present yourself in a certain way so that you get. But if you're doing it solely for acceptance, if you're doing it solely for other people's benefit, and it's the opposite of what you want to do, I think that's where it's a problem. If you are just doing it because you enjoy dressing yourself up, looking as pretty as you can, being fit, being healthy, doing a few surgical tucks and nips here and there if you need to, then absolutely more power to you. I'd be an absolute hypocrite if I said don't do what you want to do. If it doesn't affect other people, it's none of their freaking business. But at the same time, I think I see and hear a lot of people, and I think, you mentioned it before, of how much you share of yourself on the internet, and both physically, mentally, emotionally, all of that sort of thing. I think you can fall into two camps. You can fall into the everything is good, putting on your veneer of complete happiness, joy, perfection, whereas really you're dying inside. And then there's the flip side of that, which is that you portray this lost soul of everything in the world is terrible and horrible. And I think everyone sits somewhere in between. And I'm not saying you shouldn't share the stories and you shouldn't share some of the things that have happened to you in the past, because I know that helps other people, because other people are sitting in the same position as me. And if I just put on this complete false bravado of everything is fine all the time, that doesn't help people. That makes people feel worse. And this is why Instagram and TikTok and all the Snapchat and all these places are coming under so much fire now, because they are encouraging people to present a fake version of themselves that is not true to them. And you can only do that for a certain amount of time before it really sucks and drains your soul. And it's soul crushing to have to present a version of yourself that's not true. You've talked about this before in terms of pre-transition. You were living an absolute falsehood. And it wasn't until you actually accepted within yourself that you were able to be comfortable and be happy with that. And I think a lot of people are doing that online. And yeah, the answer isn't to go all one way or all the other way. You can have a little bit of, hey, I'd like to look good and I like to present myself in a certain way. And you can also have a little bit of sharing about, hey, you know what? I had a shit day today and I look like crap because I slept 2 hours because Just
That's
happens
every
that way
day.
sometimes. Yeah, my kids have been sick this week, and it's been school holidays, and I'm a little tired, and I'm going to have a second or third or fourth or fifth coffee. So stuff happens. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, except to say that hopefully what you and I do, not to get all, like, oh, we're so motivational, man. But I think it actually helps people out because they look at you and me and they say, if they can do it, maybe I can do it too.
Yeah, and like I look at a lot of self-motivational stuff out there and just go, oh Jesus, I can't do it because like,
Yeah.
your life's perfect, mate. You never like share any of the crap with me. Not everything's perfect, so it's unrealistic. And here I say way too much sometimes, share way too much, which I'm about to right now because I love it. Hi, Drew and Leela, welcome aboard. And if I've missed anyone else to chat, welcome aboard. But look, again, going back to appearances and stuff too, I worked in the sex industry. I don't care who knows about it because it was one of the reasons I got Botox. Not because I wanted to, because you would walk into where you worked and people would look at you and they'd pick you on your looks. But in saying that, before I did any of the Botox shit, I was 42 years old when I got into that industry. And all the other girls who were in that room with me waiting to be pick me, they were all like 20. And I was killing it business-wise. I was getting all the customers because it was more about, instead of being about looks, of course you got to present, but it's about people skills and actually identifying people when they walk in and trying to use your experience with people to understand at a glance what that person wants and be able to nail it straight away instead of just walking in and going, hello, sexy man or sexy, or that shit only flies so far. People want more than just a bonk. In fact, in the industry I worked in, the majority of clients I had over this is going to shock people, wouldn't even have sex, Pete. They would just come to where I was and watch wrestling with me and pay $1,000 to do it. Weird, but true. But there's that. So, and look, you're talking about how much do you share? It's a hard one for me because I tend to share a lot. And again, like my take on being trans, I'm not here to force it on you and talk about it every day and make you accept it. I don't really care if you accept it or not. The thing I always try and drive home about it is that, before you look at the sexuality of it and the gender bullshit and all the stuff that's blown out in the media, think about this. There's a lot to learn from everybody out there. And trans people I'll tell you what we can teach you the most. We've lived life in both sides of the spectrum. We can see things that you can't, just being one gender. When you've experienced like the bullshit of getting, hey, sexy in a cockpick in a DM, to actually being the person who sent the cockpick, you've seen a lot, right? So, yeah, and sharing. I mean, one of the things I remember when I started this, you told me was maybe just reel it in a little bit, Jade, and I have over time. Apart from today.
Yeah, the commercial reality of having sponsored content and of having to live the YouTube rules and do things within that space is and we've seen that, like the whole, like, I don't want to talk cancel culture and stuff. I think that's boring and overplayed.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Yeah, the reason that's even a thing is that people almost see the rules and then steer into it. Like they steer into the skid because they want to be the muckraker and they want to make trouble. And then they're like, oh no, consequences. And then, look back on it and go, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. So my advice was just to say, hey, Jade, you can probably make some decent coin here and get sponsors on board and get companies to give you free shit if you just say fuck about 3 times less every show. That's all.
And I do now. So, like, it is more controlled. Definitely is more controlled these days. The other thing I was going to bring up about holding back. Oh, so look, a lot of people would have seen, if you watch a lot of YouTube and you're talking about TikTok and people living these fake existences, look how much money I have. And you always get found out. And how many YouTubers have you seen who've got like, a million subs and then all of a sudden this big bullshit story breaks and it's like, this YouTuber that you trusted for ages has been grooming kids. This YouTuber, if you live a bullshit existence, completely bullshit, people are going to smell it eventually, and they're going to like just go bang, and you will be cancelled for at least, I don't know, a week.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird because what you're talking about is your experience in the sex industry. I haven't worked in that industry, but I did work for an energy company, which is like much more evil. So I realized towards the end of my corporate career that I was doing it all wrong. Like no one tells you because you kind of just get taught to toe the line, be the company man, be the brown noser, suck up to the right people, and then climb the corporate ladder and then get the promotion, and then everyone's happy. And then towards the end, a funny thing happened. I stopped doing that. I just one day I said, I've had enough of this. And instead, I didn't go rogue. I didn't start like, pushing over tables and kicking people and stuff. But I just stopped taking the bullshit. I didn't do work that I didn't think was relevant. If my boss asked me to do something, I'd say no sometimes. If someone said, hey, you need to take on this project, I'd say, okay, what's the priority of it? And they'd sort of look at me stunned, and I'd be like, well, you've given me this other piece of work. When am I going to do that if I'm doing this? And I just started being more honest and truthful. And it was amazing. Suddenly, more opportunities came up. A project came up, and they're like, "Oh, Johns, you'd be really good for this project because, you've really been speaking your mind of late." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And it was so bizarre that as soon as I turned off the fake and turned on just the genuine, authentic, not in a negative way, and not in a just muckraking kind of way, but just in a, oh yeah, that's the thing, but I think we should do this instead. It was weird. I grew a backbone and I was true to myself, and suddenly things were better. And I think we don't teach our kids that, and a lot of people don't know that going up. They just think they see the slimy, sleazy people that have sleazed their way and failed sideways to get to the top, and they're like, oh, I guess I have to do that too. And maybe you can, but I don't know. It's just so much nicer. It feels so much better to be true to yourself than to be putting on that fake facade every day.
I think we've all seen it, and now I've come from a corporate background as well before getting into the sex work that I did, and I left corporate to go and do that, and I'll never forget the day, Pete. Oh, it was a great day. I walked into work and said to the boss, "I need to see you in your office," and sat down. And he's like, "Is everything okay?" And I went, "I'm leaving to become a sex worker," and they went. Actually did that and then walked out, and it was so freeing. But we've all worked in jobs where we've seen the arse lickers and the people who are completely fake, and they do rise. They rise up the ladder. But when you rise up the ladder in a corporate job as well for being authentic, you get to see the stuff that goes on behind the arse licker's back. Yeah. How everyone says that guy's an arse licker. And but they have to rise them up the ladder because of they're ticking all the ass licking boxes, but they're never respected. And you're right, when you do open up and talk honestly, I think in companies without being horrible, people respect that, because you can't increase productivity in business without the hard truths, even though you don't want to hear them.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's disheartening, I know, because I've worked in places where that's it, where people that are keeping up appearances and are making themselves look the way, and there's someone I know that literally sends their children to a private girls' school so that they can network with other people. Like, they're that much of a douche chimp that they're like, oh, I need to have this as my image, so I'm going to schmooze with the other parents, and it would be beyond them if people found out that their children were not at a private school, they would look like they're not successful, and then they wouldn't get the opportunities, and then they blah 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 blah. And yeah, it just makes me feel so sad because, look, I'm not a big believer in karma or the universe or any of that sort of stuff, but I just feel empathy for those people. It must be exhausting. It's like people who are like, chronic liars or sociopaths or people that have to construct these stories. It would be exhausting because you'd be constantly spending and wasting energy on things that are not actually fulfilling. Like, no, you're not going to get to the end of your life and go, yeah, I'm really glad I stepped on so many people on my way to the top, and I'm really glad that I was horrible to all these people. Like our mate Elon, he's going to go down in history as one of the most successful people. But if there is a judgment day, and if there is someone there at the end, they're just like, hang on, you are horrible to how many tens of thousands of people over your life? Yeah, you sent some rockets to space and made some cars, but Jesus, man, what are you doing there? Like you're not living the best way that you could. So anyway.
Yeah, how about your own child? Like, who happens to be trans, and he's like on Twitter going, "Oh, X, I hate trans people." It's like, dude, oh my god, dude. Yeah,
It's a worry. It's a worry.
It's so strange. Hang on, I just need to say something. Did everybody else catch what Pete said? Douche chimp.
You
Never.
have one F-bomb and you've had douche chimp. And I'm like, I'm sorry, DistroKid. Like, I never talk like this on my sponsored shows.
Never heard that before. Taking it, putting it in the vocab. Thank you very much, Pete. That's in the bank, that one. I implore you all, douche chimp. Let's get it trending on Twitter today.
I'm picturing the T-shirt. I'm like, the bored apes. I'm looking like a bored ape just holding up. Anyway, it could be a very interesting visual if you want to go down that track.
Wow.
Dude.
I love this show. It's one of my favorites each month.
Well, I have to compete with Enjo because I know he's a bit wacky and gets he does the wave. He gets all like deep and meaningful, and then just says something that's completely left field. And so I figure if I'm going to be the fill-in Enjo, I'm going to take you on the roller coaster ride as well.
Well, that was one of the reasons I wanted to do this with him, because he doesn't get a chance to let his hair down on his channel. Everything's very, so he can come on here and just, during my sponsorship, just go, I think DistroKid already know I'm crazy, so I think we're all right there.
It does, Jade Starr. If there was a catchphrase, it would be Jade Starr does what it says on the tin. Because like you get exactly what you get, and you get it. If you like it, that's good. If you don't, well then that's your problem. So.
Perfect segue, because guess what, folks? We're going to mention our sponsor. And now, these days, for these shows, I have a pre-recorded ad because you never know what I'm going to say. So
might be douche chip.
I'll add it into the next revision of the ad. So let's hear from our sponsor today at DistroKid. Let's Oj. Have I got everything lined up? I think I do. All right, let's do it. This presentation is proudly sponsored by DistroKid. Introducing DistroKid, your ultimate music distribution solution. For just $29.99 a year, DistroKid empowers you to release unlimited tracks on all major music platforms worldwide, including Spotify, Apple Music, TikTok, and so many more. Plus, use my link, distrokid.com/VIP/JadeStar and get 7% off your first year. You'll also keep 100% of your royalties and gain access to valuable tools like instant verification on Spotify and detailed revenue analytics. Don't let your music go unheard. Join DistroKid today and take your music career to the next level. Thank you, DistroKid, for sponsoring today's presentation. Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. Well, I love you, DistroKid. Let's bring Pete back on. So, what would we do without DistroKid? Love DistroKid so very much, and no, they're not called douche chimp. Crazy.
What have I done?
I know, Pete. It's all happening today.
Mate. Everyone knows I love DistroKid, and I've also been using it. Lately, I've been thinking about it because I don't know about you, but I have so many subscriptions. I live in subscription hell. I think we all do. And the very fact that the one subscription that I actually feel genuinely good about is every year when I pay my DistroKid renewal, because it's $40 plus I've got a couple of covers. So I pay about $64 every year for a year's worth of unlimited uploads with DistroKid. And I'm like, my Netflix is like $23 a month. And that's just to watch some crappy shows that I never really enjoy that much. I'm like, DistroKid, you can't. They kind of undercharge. If I'm honest, I think the value you get out of them is more than what you pay for it. But I'm very biased as well. And hashtags bots it.
And I think I pay for mine about 129.
You got 112 bands. So.
Well, I was looking. I see they've changed their splash page as well too. So I don't know if you've noticed this. When you come over here, it says this up when you go to like your plan here. It tells you, I've got 11 artists. And I think I've only used 5 or 6. I think I've used 6 artists, but I've got 11. I don't know. Did they up the amount of artists? And I think I might have, yeah.
Might have added some extras because you can. It kind of gets to flexible at that point. You have up to, and then it's like up to as many as you want with the ultimate plan.
It's 5 with the basic plan, and then you get some extra ones on top. I think I paid for an extra one, and yeah, anyway. But
for most people, the musician plus is plenty because 2 artists and all the bells and whistles. But Jade's special.
I just like to have as many bands as I possibly can. But that's cool. I love being able to do that because I'm addicted to having different bands. So we kind of discussed about how much is too much. Is there, like, it's hard to, like, there's certain opinions I want to say about things, and I try not to. Because I know it upsets people, because we are living in a very volatile world at the moment where...
Yes.
Let's just go there. So when I was a kid, politics came up every 4 years when I was standing in a cardboard booth with a piece of paper which has 100 things on it, and I have to tick boxes in 1 to 110, and I would fill that in, put it in a box, and walk out and never think about politics for another 4 years.
And get a sausage.
And get a sausage in bread here in Australia.
Freedom sausage.
Here in Australia, folks, when you vote, I know you guys in America, I don't know what England gets, but you get a sticker. We get a bloody sausage in bread with some onion and ketchup.
It's the most Australian thing ever, isn't it? It's like, yeah, your democracy sausage that you get when you go to vote. It's just nuts.
I'm sure many Australians just vote, because here in Australia we have to vote or you get fined. So take that out of the equation. But I think more people vote in Australia just to get that bloody sausage.
It is, yeah. It's one of the hardest things that I have to face in terms of this, because as I'm aging, I'm actually aging the wrong way. What you're supposed to do, is as you get older, especially if you're like middle-aged white man in Australia, you're supposed to lean much further right. You're supposed to get all conservative. You're supposed to get all introspective and focus only on your little tiny close-knit group of friends and family.
Yes.
And kind of not give a crap about the rest of the world at large. I, for whatever reason, have decided to steer the other way, and now I'm like a citizen of the world, and I want social justice, and I want people to be treated the right way, and which is weird because I didn't consider that extreme, but the version of this now that seems to be extreme is I just want everyone to be able to be happy and do whatever they want, and other people to not stick their noses in the business of people if it doesn't affect them. And apparently that's an extreme view, which I find absolutely baffling. But I go with what I do publicly and with what I do on the channel. I go with the Dave Grohl way of going with this, which is he says that he makes music. He says that music, and rock music in particular, is a time where everyone can just get together and enjoy the music and enjoy hanging out as people and enjoy rock and roll. And I subscribe to that about 90% because I'm the same. I'm not going to say, hey, if you support this particular group of people, you can't watch my videos and you can go and you suck, because there's so many nuances there. I think I phrase it more that if you are part of the 10% of people that are horrible, that think that other people should not be allowed to do whatever they want to do, which includes go to like a rock and roll concert, because by definition, they'd be like, oh no, if you're different, you can't come. You can't come and hang out at this rock concert. So it's a hard thing. You've got to kind of keep two almost conflicting ideas in your head at the same time to say we should be all inclusive, but does that include people that aren't inclusive? Like, I don't think so. So I think I'll be all inclusive of anyone who shares my views that everyone should just be left the heck alone and allowed to do what they do. And whatever you do, as long as it's not impacting anyone else directly or indirectly, then go your hardest. Like, I don't understand that. So, but it does get me into trouble sometimes when I joke about it. I just sort of say, yeah, it's just lefty socialist hippie John's over here just having his say and crunching his lentil burger because he's a vegetarian too, if you can believe it. So yeah, I kind of take the piss out of myself from that way. But again, I don't think the only people that have ever had a problem with it are people that are yeah, just super extreme on one side or the other, and I'm talking both sides, and
Yes, we can't
that's
forget
okay.
that.
Yeah, oh yes, it's not a right or left thing. It's an extreme thing. It's there's some people that are so far down the rabbit hole on the other side that they want to do bad things to the people that are on the other side, and that's not the answer either. Like violence doesn't help either, nor does trolling, nor does like I know. Look, I agree. There's some horrible people that kind of deserve what happens, but again, no one deserves that to be treated with violence. But I don't know. It's a hard one, as you can tell. You kind of have to keep all these different thoughts in your head. And I spend a lot of time, especially in live shows, trying not to say things, occasionally getting it wrong and just going on a rant and then readjusting and coming back and doing it again. But haven't been cancelled yet, so crossing my fingers and my toes.
Don't worry. If you get cancelled, it only lasts about 3 weeks. People just forget about it. Like, there is no cancelling. Ed B. Metal's here with us. There's a few people I should say hello to. I saw Capsulam, Rainfield Music, someone else who I've missed here, and I can't find them now. What am I doing? There you are. Where are you? There you are, Deep Gravity and Ed B. Metal. G'day, g'day, g'day.
Deep Gravity. Haven't seen you for a while, my friend. Are you doing well?
I guess I'm a lefty, but I'm not extreme. Like, all I want for people is healthcare. Just I think it's a right. That's all I give a shit about. And just don't be an asshole. Like, it's and because I see the extreme left, I see the extreme right, and they are both very extreme. You know, look, I live as a trans person. I'm sure people are like, yeah, but you expect everybody to dance around your gender. I don't give a shit. I get misgendered all the time. Maybe I did when I looked much better. I would get upset about it. But these days, I'm not going to be like on a video clip going, "It's ma'am," or anything like that. That's that's crazy shit, right? You look like a lunatic. But because you know what? Not all the time people are doing it out of hate. That you got to separate that kind of stuff. But again, I try not to mention it on here. Look at even so for Song Tambo, I did that song with everybody's dogs and cats barking and meowing over the song, and it was a very topical song because it was they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, which is this is not a political. That's a fucking lunatic statement, right? I don't care.
And a false statement, like not even an opinion. You can't say that's just my opinion. No, it's factually incorrect. But thanks for playing.
But I made that song, and I tried to do it in a way that it's like, hey, I'm not like this is not political. This is just that's outrageous. But let's make fun of it and have some dogs and cats singing their rebuttal. Like, that was the point. Seriously, Pete, I had, the day that song dropped, 15 people unsubscribed from the channel. 15. I'm like, wow. Like, I could get up here every day and say Donald Trump is a total you know what I mean? I could do that, but I'm not going to. But that was shocking that really triggered people. Because it is hard to hold back your feelings because like everything's so political at the moment. We've got to the point with politics that it's become a sport.
Not a fun sport either.
No.
It's just a really crap sport. It's like the sport, but you're watching the same game over and over again and no one ever wins. Like, this is the worst sport ever.
It's tiring.
It's so boring.
It's
It's
tiring.
exhausting.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of from a musical point of view and a creative point of view, and I say this in my show, so again, about appearances, and I know that other people that do the same sort of things that we do and that do music shows are very careful. They don't play anything political or anything religious or anything about sex. And I'm like, mate, you take politics, religion, and sex out of rock and roll, you're kind of left with nothing. You're left with "She Loves Me," yeah. Oh no, that's a bit too sexy. Oh no, okay. So I think music can be, but the difference is expressing yourself through music. You can do it in a subtle way, and I actually really enjoy songs that do things in a subtle way. So, and people say, well, why would you play something from someone that says, "I love God, I love Jesus, everything is wonderful"? I'm like, because I also play "Satan is my ruler and my love," and so I can't have it both ways. I gotta just be accepting of what anyone wants to say, and it's kind of the same with politics. Like, if you're preaching hate against an individual, I don't think that's clever or right. But if you're just saying, "Hey, here's a thing, here's an injustice, and here's something I believe in," I mean, yeah, where would we have been? 60s and 70s music was all about that, was all about the fighting the power. And then through the 90s, all the grunges, the Rage Against the Machines and the Audio Slaves and the Soundgarden and the Nirvanas and the Pearl Jams, they were all about the issues and they were all about helping people and fighting the power. It just is part of music. But I think there's a difference between hopping on a soapbox and calling people out and calling for violence against people. That's not cool. But saying, like, creating a song that has some really interesting lyrics that really make people think about an issue, I think that's what music's all about. Otherwise, it's just all surface level and nothing ever, like, attaches and gets people in a deep way.
True, and I try and do that with my songs. I try and it's very funny, Chris Lane Senior. Welcome aboard, prick.
Neither of us are clean freaks, though, are we?
I am.
You are?
Oh yeah, I had a house inspection last week, and they came through, looked at the place. Within 5 minutes, I got the report back and said, the owners and us, we're very, very happy. The house looks like it's unlived in after 7 years. I'm a bit anal there.
There you go. So you're the whichever one. I don't even know which one's which in the Odd Couple.
I can't remember either. But, you know, getting back to what we're talking about, and now I forgot what I was going to... Oh, yeah. So I'm a big believer in putting your beliefs and stuff into music. Instead of sitting here on YouTube and preaching it. There's already enough of that shit out there. If you want to subscribe to that, go get it, right? And hello, Hugh Caldwell as well. So I try and put my beliefs and stuff into music. It's not preaching. I'm not trying to tell you how you should be. It's just observations, right? I had somebody, of course I'm not going to say who it is. I'm not naming names. They took one of my songs, which is World Divided. They went on a live stream and said that song says I'm a Nazi.
Interesting interpretation.
Because of the line. Oh, no, it wasn't that song. It was not World Divided. It was one of the other songs where the line is, get into the oven.
Oh, yeah.
Right, but it was talking about stupid people. It's not meant to be, like, it's not serious. I'm not seriously going all the stupid. It's a song, right? And they fully just was like, you're a Nazi and you're. And I was just like, wow, dude, if that's where you're taking it,
yeah.
I'm glad you left my channel.
It's and it's wacky. It's wacky what some people could, because obviously some things you put out there and they're pretty extreme. Our mate Thomas Christ has some great songs that really push people's buttons, like his song Mask. Like right in the middle of the pandemic, he dropped a song called Mask, and then I'm sure everyone that didn't want to wear a mask or were going around ripping masks off people's faces because they were idiots, were just like, oh, you're calling me an idiot. And then my favorite song of his of late is Vaccine for Stupidity, which I'm like, yes, I'm sure there are plenty of people who are anti-vaccine, which is very weird. It's like, I'm anti-healthy, but anti-vaccine that are like, oh man, you saying that just because I don't take a vaccine, I'm also stupid. And it's like, I mean, yeah, maybe. No. But yeah, it's supposed to create conversation, and it is going to trigger some people. That I kind of stopped. I gave up when I made a song called "Work in Progress" that says we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. And I got a message from a well-meaning person that may or may not have been heavily religious. That's like, actually, no, we are all created in God's image, and therefore we are perfect. And what you're saying is that we're not perfect because, we are perfect. God's perfect. Jesus perfect. I'm perfect. And your song is sacrilege. And I'm just like, wow, that's a very deep and troubling interpretation of a song, just saying, hey, maybe you should practice your music a bit more and you might get better. But again, people can take things and run with them. And I don't think you can avoid having those sort of reactions. So yeah, sometimes you put something out there and you're like, yeah, I'm 100% aware that I'm going to get some reactions to this. And then sometimes you do something and wow, you're just completely baffled by some of the ways people react to it. So
it's... You know, my response to a lot of, I've already said one of my responses about, need a hug. One of my new ones as well, too, is just touch grass. It's just easy and, it means go outside, you idiot. You know what's funny, Pete, about stuff like this? Most people know my band FMC. It's not everyone's cup of tea. It's pretty full on. But in
Not
my
my
mind,
cup of tea. I've
yeah.
been very honest with you about that. I don't like it, but I like 9 out of the 10 bands that you have.
Exactly, and it is meant to offend you, right?
Yeah.
And
It's purpose.
it's okay because like it's not singling individual people out. It's not saying this. It's not hateful. It's childish limits. It's the man from Nantucket, but more extreme. That's all it is, right? To a bunch of detuned guitars. But the funny thing is, out of all my artists, out of all the 6 artists on DistroKid, that one's the only one that makes me money. No one listens to anything else except FMC. My Spotify, it's all just FMC, and it's all the songs like Sadistic Seagull Fucker. And you just think, why are people listening to that? I guess it's escapism. Hopefully people see the joke because, you know, things can be a bit serious. And, you know, I say this often, if you can think it has happened. Unfortunately, I hope that song has never happened in real life.
Yeah. It does takes you down a disturbing path. But look, that's why there's horror and grindcore, and that's why people get into things that are unsavory and that are like going to push the boundaries, because that's what some people like, and that's okay. Again, as long as you're not living out these fantasies. A bit like violent video games. Like I used to play a lot of Grand Theft Auto, where my GTA head's at back in the day. I don't play it anymore. I kind of I'm over violent video games these days, but I don't sort of go with the whole violent video games and then people go out and they do it in real life. I'm like, no, I play the violent video games to get the anger out so that when I go into real life, I don't punch idiots on the street. So I think that you're right, it's an outlet, and it's something that people do that can actually help that out. So I don't know. It's a slippery slope, I know, because I say when I'm playing songs on Your Music Live, I just say, look, as long as you're not having excessive profanity, if it's FC, 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 like that's not going to fly. And as long as you're not preaching specific hate towards specific people, and that's it. Like that's all I care about. So everything else is kind of carte blanche. If it's artistic and it's creative, you can do it. Or if some FMC songs that just make me feel nauseous, and I can't play them because I'd be puking as I do the show.
I mean, me and Thomas share a very similar outlook. Like, you know, I try and be very positive. And, you know, if you've watched Thomas Christ, You Rock, you know, it's pretty hard to get Thomas to say something terrible about somebody. The guy's just a absolute bag of positivity. But then I see some of the music he releases and it's just like every song is just that. Here's my new song.
He lets his music do the talking, for sure.
He doesn't hold back at all, too, you know. And if you know anything about Thomas Christ, too, like where he's come from and you know, what he's done for work and stuff, he's been involved in a lot of churches and stuff. And then you see his music and it's just like, Thomas Christ. I love it. I love I love those harsh, you know, what is the word I'm trying to think of? I kind of, differences between people. You can be completely positive and completely anarchistic at the same time without being an absolute you know what.
Agreed.
Where are we up to? Morals. Let's talk about
Morals.
morals, values, all this kind of stuff. Dichotomy. I was going to say it, you know, and then I thought, you know, when you have that thought in your brain, is that the right word for what I'm trying to say? And I don't want to say it right now because someone's going to go, that doesn't mean what you're trying to say. Well, how would you know?
I need to hang on just a minute. Google dichotomy.
Juxtaposition is another one. There we go.
A portion of the whole in two parts. In other words, the couple of parts must be jointly exhausted. Oh, see, I'm not smart enough to understand what that word means.
What? I tuned out after the first two words. It's too early, Pete.
Oh, no. I don't need another coffee.
Trust your gut, says Ali. That's true, too. Trust your gut. This is a thing. This gets into this as well.
Yeah.
You've got to have some kind of faith in yourself if you're doing any kind of thing like this or putting out your music. You have to back it. You have to. I mean, if you write a song that is about a topic, a political topic, something you feel about, like the way people should be, healthcare, whatever it is, you have to be 100%. It's like when you're in the studio and you're recording vocals. If you're singing like you're unsure about it, guess what? Everyone's going to hear that song and go, "Wow, sounds like they really don't know if they believe this. So being here on YouTube and being in front of the camera, you have to back yourself. Now, are you good at backing yourself? Has this been a work in progress? Is it something you're down with, Pete?
It has been a work in progress. So yeah, it has been hard. It's been a journey. It's been a very rewarding journey for me. So a lot of people know the backstory, but I was a terrible public speaker. I hated getting up in front of people. I had serious confidence issues. I had serious self-esteem issues. I'd taken on board a lot of the things that were said to me early on. I was believing in the people that said I couldn't do things, that I wasn't worthy, that I wasn't worthwhile, that I looked funny, that I sounded funny. And that I took all of that to heart. And then I got to a point in sort of my work career where they forced me to go to these courses. One was called Think on Your Feet, all about thinking on your feet, being responsive to things. Another one was called Skilled Presenter. And I can honestly say, of all the things I did in my work career of 25, 30 years in the corporate world, these 3 days kind of changed my entire life, which sounds, again, a bit woo-woo. But I think it wasn't until I kind of it was sort of part instructional in terms of practicality and part psychology. And I think this is the thing that a lot of people miss, is that being able to do things is not just about your practical ability to do things. Everyone can do a thing, but if you've ever looked into things like anxiety and depression, you'll know that there's sometimes where you literally can't do things. You open your mouth and no sound comes out. It's not a physical thing that your voice no longer works, but your brain is not connecting those words to your mouth and allowing them to come out because something's happening in the chemicals in your brain. So this actually taught me a couple of things. It taught me to put things on a scale of what could possibly happen, what could go wrong, because the problem with the human brain is that we have this fight, flight mechanism, or freeze, fight, flight, or freeze. So we do one of three things when we get into a stressful situation. We either fight, which means that we get all aggressive about things. We can fly, which means that we avoid them, we stop, and we get away from that thing, or we avoid it, or we freeze, which everyone that's ever done any public speaking has had that thing where your mouth just doesn't work and no words come out and you kind of get all clammy and you start sweating and your pulse rate goes up to about 200 beats a minute. So I had all of that going on. And so I'm doing these courses and finding it really uncomfortable, but the presenter was really good. He explained all this stuff. I'm the sort of person that needs to know the science of things. So why is this happening? And he explained, yes, look, it is. There's physical and there's mental, and you have to get both of them right. And the mental side of it was, what is the worst possible thing that can happen? So this is a safe space. You're in here with 15 other people. We're all going to do this. What's the worst thing that you can think can happen? And we went around the room and we're like, you might not be able to speak. Okay, then what do you do? Are you going to die? Is it going to cause? Are you going to fail? Like, is your life going to be over because you can't talk this one time on one presentation? No. People might laugh at me. Oh, okay. So people will laugh at you. Guess what? They got to get up and do it themselves as well. And the only people that are really going to laugh at you in a mocking kind of way are people that probably don't have the courage to do it as well. Note, music, same sort of deal. Yep. People that are the most critical of music, as you and I have discussed before, usually aren't creating music, and their music they do create is not good. So learning the psychology of it and then just practicing, learning. That's why I did work in progress, and why, Brad made me make that T-shirt that he has that says practice makes progress, because I say that a lot, that you're not going to get perfect at it, but you just got to practice at things. And I think, to come right back to your original question, do I back myself and do I have confidence in myself? Yes, I do now, because the other thing that you learn when you start studying psychology and anxiety is that you get into this circle of worry, which is, I can't do it, I didn't do it, I won't be able to do it next time. I can't do it, I didn't do it, I won't be able to do it next. I can't do it, I didn't do it, I won't be able to do it next time. But you can reverse that circle. You can say, I did it, it wasn't as hard as I thought, I'll be able to do it next time. I did it even better, it wasn't as hard as I thought, the world didn't end, I'm going to be able to do it next time. So reversing that cycle of lack of confidence, and this is what I hopefully am going to pass on to my children and to people that I talk to, why I do what I do on the channel here, is that too many people are living in this world where they're scared, and they're scared mostly because of how other people, mostly strangers on the internet, are going to react to what they do. Or it could be a family member that has told them for so long that they're crap, and they're not going to be able to do it or amount to anything, that they stop trying and they stop doing things. Or it's a bully or a series of bullies that they had in school that told them that they were no good and they weren't able to do things. So having that self-value is hard, and it's a hard thing to do, and you have to work at it. And it's not like a overnight quick fix. It's something you got to work on. So I know that was a really long-winded way of saying that, but it's kind of the reason that I'm happy and proud of what I do today is that it didn't come easy. I'm not a natural public speaker. This does not come naturally to me, but anything that you work at, you can get good at. So that's me.
I'm telling you, folks, you want to hear what Pete just said then to music? This is where you want to go. Now, you remember my rambling review I put on this, Pete, but it still remains true. So if you haven't heard this album, how dare you? No, this is Pete's Selfish Aware album. I remember the first time I heard this, I got the privilege of getting to hear it before you dropped it, actually. You sent it to me, and I was listening to it. I was going out to buy something. I was going shopping. I think I was going to take one of my iDevices to get repaired. I was on the bus going all the way out to pick up this new iPhone. They were going to repair my iPhone. I had the whole album listening to it. And it was like I'd already known you for a period of time, but from start to finish, this album almost felt like it told me the story of what your life has been. Like there's like for the birds, then there's this tree, which is like, it feels like this little love story at school kind of thing. Then your opinion, and then people in your life who treat you like dog shit. And then you finally going, piss off, I don't need you in my life. And then it kind of comes home with kind of this much lighter, I feel like this weight's lifted off my shoulders. And I'll never forget it. It was such a wonderful experience the first time I heard it. And then, if you don't know, folks, I wrote this review on iTunes. It's like 1,000 words.
I'm sure it's still there. I'm going to find it. I haven't read it in a couple of years.
I think I was using meth at the time, Pete. I'd been up for 5 days straight. And I just lost it. It is a very autobiographical album. But I don't remember you actually saying it when it dropped. Like, you didn't tell me that, and I just got that from listening to the words. It's one of my favorite albums, and it really inspires me all the time, because I love those kind of things. I love the growth of watching people get better. You know, that's part of the reason I do this now. It's not about me. It's about seeing other people, and I know you're exactly the same.
Yeah, it's when I look back on that one, it's it's interesting. So I've got Do Not Disturb on, but for some reason my family's messages come through. I need to fix my Apple. Life. You wouldn't think I'd do this for a living.
No.
But when I wrote that and I wrote those songs and I put the song list and the order together, it was interesting, because I've since then I didn't kind of do it deliberately at the time, but it kind of was a happy little accident. It's like a Bob Ross thing. So a happy little accident that it came together that way. But I think subconsciously I was kind of being directed, again, not to be woo-woo, but like by a higher power to say, I'm going to tell the story of kind of my life here and everything I've gone through. And it at the time, they were all the things that I was working through. And I like the fact that I kind of told this story of worked through all these things. And then at the end, it kind of all came together. And I don't know. I've got this idea in my head that it could be a movie, like a short film one day, and it could have a character that goes through these things, because it's like the anxiety and then the college, and then as you get towards the end, it's like going home, which is going back to see like their aging parents, and then it's New Day, which is about accepting change, and then finish with Drinking with You. And so it does kind of tell a story. It's not exactly me, but it's also not me. It's a cathartic thing when I look back on that. And I haven't done another album since, and I think partially because I haven't had another story to tell yet. But maybe that's just around the corner. Now I've got teenage girls. Maybe there's going to be story.
It's hard when you release a banger that is not a concept album, but something that does tell a story, because that story's done. You know, look at me, I'm still holding on an album that's a complete story, and way too long I've been holding onto that one for. There's a few people who've joined us here that I haven't said hello to. Chevelle, hello. I saw Gary Hubbs, I missed you as well, my friend. Emilio, welcome aboard to the chat. And Jenny, welcome back as well. If I have missed you, I do apologise. But getting back to morals, values, all this kind of stuff. Jenny wants to see that film. But is it a thing? No.
No, yeah.
No.
And again, I'm not yeah. I could almost do like anime. Maybe AI will get good enough eventually that I can just write the story in like a 500-word essay, and then it will just create an animation of a character that does all the things in it. But maybe not. Maybe I just write it as a story. There you go. Maybe I write the script and then share that. That could be an interesting exercise.
Something people ask me often, Pete, because they know I've met you several times in the flesh, in the real world, and people say, is Pete exactly the same as what he is on YouTube? And I say, absolutely no. He's like a sailor. As soon as you see him, he's like, sweary, McSwearison. It's like, and I just say that to be a total dick, but...
Yeah. Look, it's not true. No, it is interesting though, isn't it? Because I watched a lot of it, like you talked about motivational stuff before, and I guess the whole appearance thing of these motivational gurus. And I watched a lot of things at the start that there's this dude, and he's like a real estate dude. He's a bit of a tool, and he says you got to 10x your growth, and to 10x your growth, you got to 10x your intensity and 10x your personality. And he obviously lives by that because he's very like out there, loud, confident person. And I think about this and I'm like, does he go, da, 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 da? He turns off the camera and he's just like, I'm so sad and disappointed in my life. I'm not living a good life. Like I just get this view that he's like the Robin Williams type, like the classic like Rowan Atkinson or Robin Williams that are like these zany, crazy characters. And then you find out that they're actually like really quiet, serene people that are probably suffering, unfortunately, from like stress and anxiety and depression. But it is weird that outside of actors who kind of have to turn it on, that we do, there are different versions of ourselves that we put out there. And again, back to the topic of keeping up appearances. Yeah, my appearance, my online persona, I think is about a 2x. I think it would be very weird if I spoke the same way that I do in real life, because I have I'm very introspective. I have a lot of pauses. I think things over. I'm very considered in the way I respond to people and what I do. So I'll go very quiet sometimes. For instance, as soon as this show is done, I'll go and I'll say hello to my family and I'll say hi to Georgie and I'll probably have another coffee. And then Georgie knows me well enough to know, don't bombard me with a bunch of questions or expect a big, long conversation, because I'll need to recharge for a good hour, 2 hours. So I'll generally go out for a walk and I'll just completely disconnect, put a podcast on or some music and just completely disconnect. So, yeah, I think it's definitely a different appearance, a different persona that we put out there online. But it shouldn't be different. I don't think it should be the opposite. And I said before about the whole work thing. I did the same thing with my YouTube stuff, because early on with my YouTube, I was looking at people like Joe Gilder and people like Graham Cochran. And I'm like, I want to be like them. And then I tried to do all the things the way that they did them, and it just didn't work for me. I didn't like it. And then, I saw Mike Enjo come along, and I'm like, who has the energy to make all that B-roll and be like that? Like, no, that's not going to be my channel. And I realized that, if your online personality is just an extension of yourself, it makes it easy because you don't have to be masking as much. You don't have to be lying as much. Oh, I got the thumbs up thing from the Apple. Wow, I didn't even know I had that.
Now it's not working at all.
Did I do the horns? No horns. But yeah, I think it would just be much harder to actually be completely fake. But by the same token, I also don't feel bad about the fact that you get a slightly more energized version of me online, because otherwise it's a bit like when you go to a party. Like, as an introvert, you go to a party, you're not just going to stand in the corner. Well, maybe sometimes you are. You are actually going to talk, and people are going to be like, oh, I thought you were a quiet, shy, introverted type. Why are you talking? You seem like the life of the party. You're like, yeah. And I'm going to go home and like sleep for 8 hours immediately afterwards because I'm going to be so drained. But I don't know what my point was there, except to say that, appearances are deceiving sometimes. And I think what you get from you and from me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is at least most of the truth. Like, maybe you keep, there's the 80-20, your Pareto principle you were talking about a couple of weeks back. Maybe you get 80% of us, and the 20% is the personal stuff that we still keep, which I think is important. Do you think it's important to have a little bit of stuff just for you, Jade?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to keep something back, because if you give everything, then you got nothing in the tank. And you have to have your secret joys, you know, the way I eat Tim Tams. I'm not going to, well, I think I did mention that the other day, but, you know, I suck my coffee through my Tim Tams, and it's the small
such a good-
joys in life.
The Tim Tam slam.
See, I call it a Tim Tam orgasm because it just is, I just fall back in my, but you've got to have these personal things that you're dealing with. And that's why I have a really good core group of friends, which we hang out on Clubhouse, because I know I can get off here and then go over there and bother my great friends and go, fuck, man, I'm got to find a new house, all these dramas that go on. I'm not going to sit here and pile all that shit on people. But I agree with you 100%. Like, it's one of the reasons I like wrestling. I've been a big wrestling fan my whole life, even though I live in a world where every single person who I come across and I mention wrestling has to say, did you know it's not real? Yes, I know it's not real. That's why I watch it.
They're probably the same people that watch politics and can't understand the irony that that's not real either. That's all just fake and made up bullshit as well.
But the thing about wrestling and why there are certain characters in wrestling who are household names, like Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve. Maybe not Hulk Hogan because he is fake as you know, he's a racist piece of crap. But people like The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, definitely, they were groundbreaking in wrestling because they weren't a character. They weren't a stupid clown, or they weren't this over-the-top character. They were just themselves turned up to 2 or 150, whatever you want to say. Not like 10 times, because that's too far. That's way too far. Then people will never. Yeah. That's the other characters. That's Doink the Clown. Nobody understood Doink the Clown because that was turned up so high it was ridiculous. But the Stone Cold Steve Austin was so real. His character was a redneck who was like, my boss, fuck my boss. And everybody wants to tell their boss to go fuck themselves, right? So it worked. And that's... You don't know when the lines are being blurred. You feel like you're getting authenticity, but it's just hyped up that little bit, and it's not bullshit. So I think this is the hard thing. And we've talked about this, politics and expressing you've got to be, I think authenticity is the most important thing about being a musician, being a content creator, all that kind of stuff. Now, obviously, there are content creators on TikTok who are absolutely not authentic at all. Everything is just bullshit. And for some reason, people gravitate to that as well. But like we said earlier, those things crumble really quickly because people want more. They always want more. And when they find out the more is shit and dog shit, they leave, and then that instant success is gone and they're ruined and they can never get that back. So authenticity is really important. But yeah, knowing... You know, I don't need to get on here every day and go, hi, everybody, hope you're all doing well. God, I had the worst shit today. It's probably a little bit too far.
TMI, yeah. Yeah, look, obviously there's tendencies for oversharing on social media because it's what, I hate to say it, but it's what people engage with. Like, I'm not a drama person, as you know. I'm not into drama, but I know people are. And just look at TV. Look at what's popular on TV at the moment, all the reality TV stuff, and The Bachelor and the Golden Shower Bachelor, or whatever the old person one is. There's too much of it going around, but you can see why people do it. They tap in to people's negative bias. And what you said about the TikTok stuff before as well is people will do things that they know are controversial, that they know are negative, that they know is going to get people riled up and people hating them deliberately, because that's what gets the likes and the clicks or the dislikes. Or it's like the old bully thing. It's like, any attention's good attention, no such thing as bad review, because, you know, even if people hate you, at least you're getting attention, which is a little bit sad. And I think that the other thing that I was thinking about in terms of appearance and stuff is, one of my pet peeves is people that use the excuse of authenticity and honesty to put people down and to say things about other people. I call a spade a bloody shovel, and I just tell it like it is. And if you don't like it, that's your problem. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. But we're trying to have a society here. So sometimes you do actually have to, be a bit diplomatic and sugarcoat things a little bit and not be horribly harsh to people that don't deserve it because we're all humans. And if you're using your authenticity to lift people up and help people, that's great. But if you're just using authenticity and honesty as an excuse to say, I tell it like it is and stuff you if you don't like it, I just think that's lazy and destructive. And if you get to the end of your life, you look back on that and you go, well, did I make more people, did I uplift more people than I put down? Then you're good. But I think a lot of people would look back on that and go, maybe I did need to have a little bit more tolerance to other people. Maybe I did need to think about things from other people's perspective, because guess what? Despite the fact that we're on YouTube, it's not all about you. It's not all about me. It's about everyone. We are a collective group of people. We are a tribal species. Yes, we are a species. We evolved from douche chips back in the day. And now we are humans and we have to treat each other like humans.
And we're all watching Golden Shower Bachelor. What network is that on, by the way? Like, is that a private network? Is it a Netflix production, Pete?
Look, there's a real show called The Golden Bachelor on CBS in America with old people, but The Bachelor. And you got to say that there's a few incontinence problems that probably happen on that show. Right. So I don't think I'm too far from the mark, just quietly.
So you talk about, people like I'm just going to put somebody up who I think is who you were just describing before. You may have seen this guy, Isaac Butterfield. You seen this guy?
I'm not familiar.
See, I'm not subscribed. I used to be subscribed to him. This guy, right, he's an Australian comedian. Oh, he's hilarious, mate. He's one of those comedians, right? And he's all of his videos, if you go and watch, all of his videos are like, I'm being cancelled by everybody. And I just
see the toxic masculinity guy.
Yeah.
Like that. He's all like, I do.
And all I want to say is that everybody's a fucking piece of shit. And I'm just going to pick on people. And he's one of those people who makes TikTok videos where he just sits there and judges people. Let's watch this video. Now, this guy's a piece of shit. And it's like, but I'm only doing it to help you. And it's like, dude, you sell this authentic thing, but then every video you do, every 5 videos is, they're cancelling me. And his latest video is, I think he got a gig at the Sydney Opera House for his tour, and they turned around and said, when you don't align with our Sydney Opera House values, so we're cancelling the tour. So he's made a video now going, how dare they do this to me? I should be allowed to say that blah, blah. And it's like, man, yes, you can say that, but guess what? There's always consequences. And this is not about being cancelled, man. If I go out in the street and say a whole bunch of slurs and just yell in the middle of the street, the N-word over and over again, guess what? It's not going to go down well.
People get very confused that freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequence. And it's such a baffling thing that people think that they're allowed to do and say whatever they want because that's their freedom and that's their right. We've got very confused about what rights are and what freedom is. And what rights are is that we actually have the right to protest against the government, because that was what was built into the American Constitution. At least here in Australia, we don't. They just tell us what to do and we do it. But
yes,
that's cool. They're fine. But yeah, it doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want and suffer no consequence, which is just a weird and baffling thing that people think is their freedom as a human. And it's like, no, actually, the way that humans were designed again was to be tribal people where we help other people out. We don't, like, if you go right back to the cave person days, yeah, that was all about helping the tribe and helping other people. People weren't selfish. No one was sitting in their cave by themselves, sulking with their arms crossed, going, don't feel like gathering today, having a bad day, I'm just going to stay here under the leaves. They were like, shit, if I don't go out and gather today, then my daughter's going to die, and then my neighbor's going to come in and take over from my wife, and that would be fun. So I need to actually go and do what I need to do to help out the tribe. And we've kind of forgotten about that. And look, even the use of the word tribe is probably not okay these days. So, but group of people. But yeah, just helping out other people is it's so baffling that we get to this. And there's so many people that are doing so much good in the world, but there's so many bad people cancelling them out that I'm like, if you were working for Médecins Sans Frontières like looking after people right now, and you're taking one for the team, or you're a firefighter, or you're a doctor, or you're doing something, you're doing all this really good work, and then you're looking at Bezos, who walks away with $1 trillion and decides to build a giant mansion on an island and buy himself a one-way ticket on a rocket ship. And well, no, it wasn't a one-way ticket, unfortunately.
I wish.
He came back. But yeah, you look at that and you're like, how these two people are both the same species. They're both human. How is one doing so much good and the other one is doing so much bad at the same time and doesn't seem to have any guilt or conscience about how bad they're being to fellow people? I really worry. That's the one thing I worry the most about. I'm like, if I can do one thing when I'm raising my children, raising them to be critical thinkers and have empathy, that's it. Everything else is gravy. But if they can be a critical thinker, meaning that they're not going to believe all the bullshit that they see and get on board with all of the conspiracies and all the things that other people say, and they have genuine empathy for their fellow humans, what else is there in life, really? Everything else is just gravy. So, not to get down and negative towards the end of the show here, but I think it's actually a positive thing because there's so many people. This community is a great example of that. There's so many people that do have empathy for other people, that do want to help other people and lift people up. But unfortunately, we're battling against other communities and other people who want to be the best. And instead of being the best by pulling other people along with them, they cut other people down so that their mediocrity is now the new standard for good because they've repressed and crushed everyone else below them. Not even politically, but just in every facet of life. You see this in business, you see this in music, you see this in online communities. You get people that just want to do nothing but push people down so that their, again, fairly mediocre offerings suddenly look better. They're not. They're usually a lot worse.
Yeah, it's not a winning strategy. It's like comedy at the moment. You know, the whole thing, there's this whole thing with comedy. It's like you can't tell jokes anymore. And it's like, that's bullshit, man. Like, I know. Again, we talked about extreme right, extreme left. Just talking about audiences, right?
Yeah.
People are going to get upset. And look, I'm all for humor that punches down. I laugh at. I like black humor. It's when like every joke is, I'm going to talk about this topic for 30 minutes. It's like, okay, is there anything else? Because this is why I love Grand Theft Auto. And people have dog shit on it for ages. They're like, a lot of my trans friends would go, but do you see the way they represent trans people in Grand Theft Auto? And I'm like, have you seen the way they represent everybody in Grand Theft Auto? No one's, it's the same as The Simpsons. It's the same as Family Guy. All these shows, it's the same as South Park. People who get upset about that shit, look at the overall picture. Everybody cops it. It's not just the trans people. It's not just gay people. It's everyone. That's where it's equal. And for trans people to get upset and go, I don't like this. I'm being included. I'm being laughed at. It's like, but isn't that what you wanted? To be accepted as part of the whole. It's when it gets out of control and Dave Chappelle goes, I've got a whole special that goes for an hour just on how much I hate. That's not comedy anymore. The greatest thing I heard about comedy, Pete, is you're a comedian looking for laughs. You're not a comedian once you start looking for applause. That is the end. And too many are looking for that because it's like their political soapbox now. It's like, I don't give a shit about your political soapbox or your feelings, brother, sister. I come here for a laugh. And sometimes, you know what? Jokes that are on the edge make me laugh. You know why? Because sometimes it's true. Stereotypes exist. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but they do. And even trans people, I accept it too. I'm a stereotype within myself as well. So,
and it's if it's clever. Well, this is the thing. If it's clever and creative, it's an art form.
yes.
If it was easy, if everyone could just do it by just saying things that are really wild and out there and controversial all the time, anyone can do that. The people that are good at this are the people that adapt and evolve over time. And, Mr. Jerry Seinfeld came out, like he was really good in the 90s because he did that kind of satirical humor that hadn't been done before. Guess what? The sitcom era is over. That's old.
Yeah.
And he hasn't moved on. And it's a bit like music. Now he's crying because he can't tell jokes anymore. And it's like, no, you can. You are just not talented enough to continue, or you're not accepting enough of change to try something different. You're like, no, I've been working the same way for the last 30 years. I'm just going to keep grinding out the same jokes. And it's like, there's nothing surprising. Comedy, because I love comedy. I'm a huge comedy fan.
Same.
Comedy is about surprise. And it's if you're not surprising people, like, yes, shock is part of surprise.
Yes.
But I
Shock
think
and
about
awe.
more of surprise. Yeah, but just shock and awe. But it's about the whole idea of a joke, like a standard, very traditional joke punchline is, here's the lead in and then unexpected thing at end that you weren't expecting. And unfortunately, what I've seen in comedy, as in music, is goes along absolute predictable expected thing. And it's like, it's not shocking anymore if you just like lead in, you're like, oh yeah, and then the punchline is that, yeah, that this is, that's not cool. And you know, for me, people see me and they're like, oh, that's that serious guy that talks about GarageBand all the time. And then I say douche chip, it's funny. But if I was just sprouting douche chip, if I did a whole like half an hour show called The Douche Chip Show, and then suddenly I'm doubling down on this, it's no longer surprising and therefore it's no longer funny. So people just need to be a little bit more accepting that they need to change. And that's some of the funniest things is when someone that's very serious does something pretty silly, and vice versa. Like you being really serious and then like breaking out a character like that. That's the sort of thing that just gets me chatting.
Totally. And you know what comedians are missing these days? I love, for Jerry Seinfeld's a perfect example. And I'm glad you're enjoying the show, Tom. I would love to sit in a room with Jerry Seinfeld and say, look, I know it seems like everybody's, left your kind of humour that very safe. What about airports? I know it seems like the world is collapsing on you. But just remember where comedy began, as a court jester for kings and queens. And you know what? When they got cancelled, guess what happened? They were cancelled. Mm-hmm. They were killed. All right, so your cancel culture at the moment is nothing. Go back to those medieval times, my friend, and see what. Hey, everybody, the king is a sexual deviant. Oh, that didn't fly well. Looks like I'm dead. Wah, wah.
Yeah, read the room, man. Read the room.
It's not going to work. Yeah. All right, let's bring it home on something positive.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. Keeping creative, keeping momentum, keeping fresh ideas. I'm going to start with this one, Pete, because I'm not going to lie. Yeah. I've been struggling. And it's been of recent times. People may have noticed on my channel lately, I kind of moved to doing pre-recorded demos instead of live demos and trying to make more music on my live streams. Well, guess what? That turned out to be a lot more work, a lot more than what I expected. And with life going on, some of the stuff which I have mentioned a little bit, I'm looking for a new house and stuff like that. It's been really hard to keep up momentum and keep all the stuff flowing because you've got shit you got to do during the day and go out and you've got all this stress on top. But this, the YouTube isn't the platform for me to run through that. Patreon's that. Sorry, guys. You pay me to hear all my problems. No, that's not true.
Weird? There are guinea pigs and they're the people we dump on and they pay us more money.
Well, they're our bosses, aren't they? They pay our wages, totally. So they need to know what's going on. That's how I feel anyway. And hopefully they're cool with that. But it's really hard to keep up creativity and momentum, keep coming up with ideas and get the stuff out and get it done and then be ready for the next thing because the YouTube algorithm is just... It's as forgiving as my grandma with a stick when I was young. All you had to say was one word and you got wrapped around the legs with it. And the algorithm, if you're not releasing something, you're yesterday's news. So to continue doing that, what are some tips for you to keep ideas fresh and be able to come up with new ideas, keep momentum and balance the shit,
Yeah, I think look, I'm privileged. Like, can I start with that I am very privileged to be in the position that I am, where I have a very supportive family. I live very comfortably in my house here. I don't have a whole lot of what you'd consider difficult challenges. If you're looking from the outside, you'd be like, that guy's got it made. He's a YouTuber and he can just do his own thing and he runs his own day and he's got a good family and good life and yeah. So I completely get that for starters, but it doesn't mean that it's not a struggle, and it doesn't mean that it's not hard to stay motivated and to keep doing things. Balancing is really important, and that's the key to it, is to have the maturity, I guess, to understand that if you're forcing it, if you're pushing yourself too hard to do something, and you're not balancing that out with the rest of your life, you're probably not delivering very good quality content either. And I've been down that road where I make a video, I'm phoning it in because I don't want the algorithm to punish me and to go away and stop presenting my videos. And I kind of realized that, yeah, sometimes I make those videos and they're not very good, and then I put them out there and I'm not proud of them. And I would rather, I've realized over time that it is better to take the day, if I'm just having one of those days, to take the day to step away. But what I do is I've always got a device with me. So when I'm doing something completely different, that's when I generate all of the best ideas. And I'm reading things and I'm listening to things and I've got my ear to the ground. And then I come back the next day and I can make something that's actually going to resonate with people, that's actually going to be more successful, but also feels better for me. And a classic example was my most popular videos in the last couple of months have just been helping people understand why they can't update their iPad. And I only found out about that because I was listening to a podcast, a Mac Break Weekly, where they were talking about this. And they were saying, oh, it's not being reported on any, like, this Mac Rumors had it and no one else was reporting it. And I'm like, I'm sort of a journalist-ish. I'm going to report on it. I'm going to make a video about that. And my normal videos might get a few hundred views. This one got like 20,000 views because there were so many people out there struggling and frustrated. And the amount of people that just said, oh, thank you. I just spoke to a genius at the Apple store and they couldn't tell me what was wrong with this. And then I searched online and I found you and you can tell me. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's not cool. And then, yeah, then made a follow-up video once it was available to update. This is the M4 iPad couldn't update to iPad OS 18 issue. And that kind of gave me this thought that, yeah, even when you're not doing the direct work, that it's kind of like music. You sometimes get your best ideas for hooks and for song ideas and for things when you're doing something completely unrelated. And instead of forcing the creativity, or in my case, forcing a video out there that's not going to be very relevant and people won't watch, why not step away? Give yourself the time. And look, I know not everyone has the luxury to do that. I'm, again, very privileged that I can do that and just take the hit if I have to. But I guess I've just learned that, yeah, finding that right time and balancing out your real life with your creative life can really help. And you'll be very surprised that those little ideas and those little nuggets of information that you find when you're not expecting it can actually help you with the actual work.
100%. And you know what you said, very valid, because over the last couple of weeks, if I've got to a point because of all this house stuff, it's like, oh man, I'm so tired to do a demo at 10 o'clock. Well, I normally do it at 9 at night kind of thing to get it out for midnight here in Australia.
Yep.
If I'm not feeling it, just don't do it, because it's going to look like you're not feeling it. It's better to sit on it, but then, you know, even though it piles up, there's another way we can get it done. So I guess if you don't let that stress get you and go, oh, but I'm not getting this stuff done. If I'm not getting it, no, relax. You'll get it done. It's okay. Just take the time if you need it. It's been a hard thing for me to do. I'm just sitting here going, but I've got to do it. And I feel like this, nearly over 4.5 years I've been doing this now. And I feel like I've got to get this done. I'm going to let people down. And slowly I'm getting used to it, going, you know what? Nobody's sitting there waiting for my fucking video to drop. Really?
Yeah.
They're not. It's okay, Jade. Relax.
It's easy to get a little bit too self-important and think that everyone's sitting there waiting, and you're going to let people down. And it's interesting. Like, we'll have to finish off soon, I know. Yes. But my wife said something interesting to me this week. She was talking. She was listening to something, and someone mentioned the fact that we actually do other people a disservice by assuming that they're thinking the worst of us. Yeah. So the vast majority of the time, when you're sitting there and you're thinking about things, and you're like, you know, you've had that conversation where you were talking to someone and you maybe put your foot in the mouth. You said something that you thought was inappropriate, and you're just like, oh my God, they must totally hate me now. They must feel this. They must feel terrible. And then you're thinking about this, and they're like, yeah, they're probably planning to delete me on Facebook, and then they're going to tell all their friends how bad I am. And then like a week later, you catch up with them, and you're like, oh, really sorry about that thing I said. And they're like, what thing? What the hell are you talking about?
So
that. I didn't care about that. And I think we do people a disservice by assuming the worst of them. And I've realized that I've decided that, whether it's naive to do so or whether I'm just putting the blinkers on or whatever, but I've decided to just think the best of people. And even when people are being negative, and it's why when people just say stuff, I just go, yeah, you seem nice, we should totally hang out. Because just think the best of people. Just think that person is just having a bad day. They're just having a bad day or a bad life, maybe, and that's just the way that they are. It's not really got nothing to do with you. And this is why I said, I opened up, and it's sort of a good 360 with saying to my family, if I ever get too thick-skinned, if I'm ever not taking on criticism or not taking on feedback, please let me know,
Yeah.
because you're the people I trust to tell me. But I've become, again, with the whole appearance thing, I've become so thick-skinned that now I'm just like, yeah, I don't think that that's actually real. I kind of know I've got enough confidence to what you were asking about before. I've got enough confidence and awareness and self-belief to say, I know that's not a fact. Therefore, I'm not going to get worried about it. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. It's the same with when I do something wrong. I'm not going to say, I really think that person's going to hate me now. I'm going to be like, hey, they probably know that shit happens and that sometimes you say the wrong thing, and they're a kind and forgiving person. So even if they were a bit peeved by it at the time, they're probably going to forgive me for it. They're probably going to be cool. Or I've blown it completely out of proportion because I'm an overthinker and they're not even thinking about it, which is more likely the case. So
That's the case.
yeah, you got some nice donations there from folks there,
Yes,
which is
thank you,
very
Tom.
nice to see.
Thank you, Tom, for the pound. Thank you, Ed Zielinski, for the $10. Very kind of you. Look, it all adds up. If you got value out of today and want to do a one now, that's thankful. There's a little PayPal thing down here as well, and if there's after thanks if you're watching on the replay and all that kind of stuff. The last thing, oh God, no, I forgot what I was going to say now. It was on what you were just talking about. Get my brain back. Man,
Judging others, being hard on yourself, thinking that other people would...
So one of the developers, thanks Pete for reminding me, one of the developers, a few of them, I've reached, because I like to let people know exactly what's going on. Probably too much, like GeoShred. So they just released a new Mac version, and I've got my codes. I'm ready to do the show. And I sent an email to them yesterday going, I'm so sorry I haven't done a show. And they only sent me the codes 3 days ago, to do the show. And I'm like, I'm so sorry I got all these problems. I've got to move out of my house, and I'm looking at houses, and I just got back. Oh, good luck with your house.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're cool. Just let us know when you do it so we can so we can advertise it.
Yeah.
But, that's just my makeup. I feel like I get guilty and I feel like I've got to get it done. And you know what? I hope I never lose that, because sure, it can be a negative thing that it can pile on and create all this pressure in your mind and, all the shit that comes with it. But being responsible is a good thing, and letting people know what's going on. It's a thing I like to do, and write back and say, I'm getting there, even if it's late. Whatever. And people normally don't mind,
No, and that's a really good point to clarify there. It's the opposite is no good either. Having no care factor for other people and not meeting deadlines and not communicating effectively can be more harmful or just as harmful. But I think most of us, especially in the creative space, where we lean the other way, we lean the over worry, the over communicate, the overthink, as opposed to the under. But yeah, you're right. You still need to be able to do that and to actually keep people in the loop, because there is nothing worse than radio silence. And it can be as simple as a quick email to just say, hey, I'm still on this. And like you say, they'll be like, yeah, okay, that's cool. No problem. Otherwise, you don't want to be in that position. And if you're like me, you hate getting the email saying, hey, how you said you'd do this thing? Well, we haven't heard from you for a while. So can you do that for us? And yeah, so self-awareness. Look, it's why my first album, my only album, was called Self-ish Aware, because it was all about this. It was about that balance of being selfish, but being self-aware, but not being so self-aware that you're worried about every single thing all the time, because you can get all up in your own head, and that's where a lot of the anxiety and stuff come from. So despite the fact that that's a terrible title for search engine optimization, self-bracket-ish in bracket aware, I thought it was a clever title, and I'm sticking by it.
I like your conviction. Thank you, Jenny, for the super, what is it? Is a super sticker? It's a donation. So thank you so much, Jenny. And thank you, everybody who's donated today. Memberships as well. I know Mr. Smith did one. I gave away 5 at the start because YouTube give us some to give away. All right, we're going to get out of here. Pete's got things to do. I got things to do. I've got to apply for 2 houses today, and hopefully I get one of them at least, and we can move, and that's a whole nother new thing. But I want to thank you, Pete, for coming in and filling in today. And I love it when you come on. It's always an incredible chat. You're one of my dear friends, and I just love that you can come on here and talk about cock goblins. What was it? No, not cock.
Golden shower bachelors.
Golden shower bachelors.
And douche chimps.
and douche
Well, I've
chimps.
got a very urine focused, aren't I? Very, very that region area. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, but thank you so much. Where can people find you, Pete Johns?
Pretty easy. StudioLiveToday.com or search my name, Pete Johns, on your favorite platform. Google me, do all those things. As you mentioned, I've been doing this for so long now that I'm kind of the Pete Johns on the internet, which is a bit humbling and kind of cool. So, yeah, I tell my kids, I'm like, if you ever want to show off and flex on your friends, just say, if you Google my dad, you find my dad. And they're like, whatever, Dad. Yes, you must be very proud that you have a name.
I'm not even going to say what mine says to me. He just says, you're a joke. I'm glad you love my content that much. Thank you, everybody, for the well wishes. Thank you to our sponsor, DistroKid. Love you, DistroKid. As always, I think Mike will be back, I think, next month, and we will continue. I think we were going to talk about like censorship and go really down the whole dark line of like, there's a lot to discuss about it. I know, especially for him too. So we'll continue that on. I'm not sure what's my next show. I'll quickly let you know. So now, before we let you go, there's time changes this week, isn't there? For the happy hour, yeah?
There are. So there's already the time change from last week, which is everything's an hour earlier. But even differently, I am taking Thomas's time slot for his live show, and you are opening for Thomas. So we're just flipping it around, switching with Tom because I've got some commitments later in the day. So Tom will be having the prime happy hour slot, which will be great because some of you folks that maybe can't catch Tom's show will be able to catch him live, and that's a good thing. And you can catch me earlier in the day. That'll be on all the social places as well. You can keep up to date with it. And yeah, what are you doing? Oh, you're doing us again.
I'm doing community covers race. So I'm going to put all your names into a big list and do a running race for 5 seconds, and it's going to be randomly picked. And your song could be sung by moi.
Look at Ron Ward in that one. What a cool dude.
Look at these weirdos. Look at all these weirdos here.
We're talking about appearance. I'm just like, look at that. We got everyone, don't we? We got an eclectic bunch of Barry Glenn in the middle there, Brad peering over, and Thomas Christ with his interesting makeup there.
What a motley crew they all are, aren't they? Yeah, I love doing the community covers. It's heaps of fun. So hopefully you can join us for that. But we're going to go out today with a Pete Johns song. Of course we are. Ooh. And you just dropped this banger for Songtember, and it kind of fits. Learn. That's what we're here to do. We're all learning. We're all taking on new stuff, hopefully. And did you have fun making this song for Songtember?
Oh, I did. You know some of the some of the challenges. I only got it done because of you and Mars Capone actually stepping up and helping me with it. But no, look, Songtember is fabulous. It's my favorite time, but it's also the biggest challenge of the year. So it's kind of one of those things that I look forward to. When I'm in it, it's a grind. Afterwards, I'm glad it's over, but it is so rewarding and it's so great to see everyone participating. And I think this song's kind of a bop, so I'm pretty proud of what we put together with this one. And I await the feedback from someone telling me that it's telling us something bad for some reason. I don't know.
Alrighty, do the things that make you happy, folks. Mistakes make you better. We'll all rise together, stay awake, and let's urge. And I'll say goodbye to you off air, Pete. So love you all. Let's do it. Pete Johns, learn. 2, 3, 4.
Don't need no grudges on my lawn.